Here's Pete. So I know you've had a couple weeks to work on things, but when we did this video, the good things I can see here are that your body position is pretty high, so you're riding high in the water. It means your hips aren't dragging or your legs aren't sinking. That's good. And you're getting a pretty nice extension, like a forward extension. There's room for improvement with that, but this is pretty good. Your breathing is relatively comfortable. Your head might be coming up just a little more than it needs to when you turn to breathe. Ultimately, what you want to be able to do is just kind of turn your head face just a little bit and get your mouth clear of the water. That way you don't lift your head up any. If you lift your head up, your hips drop a little bit. You can watch that sort of relationship there. But your kick is pretty good. So things that we could work on as far as above water, reaching forward a little more, or trying to extend as far as you can with each stroke. That'll help. Eliminating that raised head when you turn to breathe. Looks like it goes a little more as you go along here. But fundamentally, your stroke is in pretty good shape, and I know you hadn't had any instruction prior to this, so a lot of good things. Now the underwater is where you have or you had a number of places for improvement. So what's going on with the underwater, and we'll see that in a second, is that you were really crossing over quite a bit. And so when you cross over a lot, a couple things happen. You lose some of your power. Instead of moving you forward, it just kind of moves you well, side to side, although when you see here, you're not really swimming side to side, so that's good. Basically, it's an inefficient pulling motion. And from the front now, you can see how your hands sort of disappear under your body, even more so when you turn to breathe. So that was just a little bit much. So you're doing a good hard pull there. If we can just direct it the right way, you're gonna swim pretty quick. So what you have going on as far as stroke mechanics are, this would be what I would call a straight arm pull, and then sort of rotating under or crossing over as you get past about halfway in the stroke. So you're entering and then immediately pulling down and then back, and when you're pulling back, your hand rotates under your torso. So what you want to get to is you want to enter. We want to reach forward a little more, so instead of entering and immediately starting to pull, you're going to want to enter and then reach forward, like directly in front of your shoulder as well as possible, and then start pulling. I'm pretty sure we talked about high elbow catch. Even if you weren't to do the high elbow catch, if you just continued to swim with the straight arm but moved your hand outside or out from under your torso, you'd be swimming faster right away. But you got a good kick. The kick mechanics look good as well. So you're kicking from the hip, and then from this view is where you can really see. So you basically never want your hand or forearm to cross over the center line, and it's going on with almost every stroke at that point. We have the same angle later in the video, and you already improved. And so here we had talked about just pulling further outside the line of your body. And so this has slowed your stroke down a little bit, but you're dealing with it well, and this is already a little smoother. When if I had to grade this is a half a grade up at least. And that was just after 5 or 10 minutes of talking about the line you pull through. And this was, I think, working on reaching forward and keeping the stroke, outside the line of your body or out from under your torso. So this looks even better. Sometimes you may hear like a background voice that was on the original recording, and that would tell you what we exactly did.
There you go. Catch-up drill.
So this is trying to do catch-up drill. Catch-up drill is good. It's two purposes: working on the extension, which you're doing pretty good there, and then really trying to get that high elbow catch. So the mechanics with the high elbow catch is rotating your shoulder internally. It's like a shoulder shrug, and then you kind of pull your shoulder in, towards your front, and then at the same time your elbow comes up, your hand and forearm angle down or vertical, and it creates a greater amount of surface area for you to leverage your body forward. That motion uses your lats as the primary muscle group. So as you work on that, you'll discover that your lats will get more tired and there'll be less demand on your biceps.
This is working on a higher elbow?
Biceps and pecs, really, which is what you use a lot of when you're pulling under your body. And I reckon this was working on the high elbow. The always fun one-arm drill. So this is a strength builder and it's also a technique. So on this you really want to try to get the high elbow, and it looks like you're getting some of it there. A tendency for some folks when they start doing high elbow is to do what I call an elbow slip. So you want to make sure when you're doing high elbow that you don't lead the stroke back towards your body with the elbow. If the elbow is in front of your hand and forearm as you're pulling back towards your body, then you're giving up leverage. So you want that hand and forearm to basically stay directly under the elbow as well as humanly possible. Obviously right at the front of the stroke you can't, your hand and your forearm won't be right under your elbow. But as your hand and forearm get closer, you get to that 90-degree angle. Once you get to the midpoint of the stroke, then it's a pushing motion. So there's still some power in the push, but most of the power is in the first half of your stroke. This might have been trying to bring it all together. This is pretty good.
And then
Alright, and then one more front angle here. So much improved on the line you're pulling through. That is much better. So this was the first time you swam without any feedback yet. So good entry, and then you start angling down pretty quickly. So you want to angle up for just a little bit, or forward for just a little bit. Then that's a straight arm. See how your upper arm and forearm are at the same line, and then your forearm starts to rotate under your body. So you've given up some leverage. Your lat released at that point, so you wouldn't be using your lat, which is really the one you want to use the most. So pretty good extension, but then kind of angling down as opposed to forward, and then again a straight arm pull at the beginning there. What I'm looking at is the angle of the upper arm and forearm, and then the forearm rotates under your body. So kind of mirror images on both sides there.